All right, welcome back to Waste Some Time with Jason Green. I am Jason Green, bringing you brand new interviews right here on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and click on the Patreon link in the description. Sign up, and then you can ask the questions next of guests like my guest today, John Corabi. He has a brand new book out, Horseshoes and Hand Grenades. It's available everywhere right now. He also has a new single, So Beautiful. You probably know some of the bands that he was in. Motley Crue, Ratt, The Scream, Dead Daisies. We're going to talk about all of those things and much more right after this. Just wanna waste some time with you. Sometimes it seems too good to be true. Nobody out there to waste time with you. All right, please welcome John Corabi.
How you doing, buddy?
Good, John. Glad you're here. I've wanted to have you on for quite some time, but the book company wanted to wait, Rare Bird. They wanted to wait till it was a little closer to the book being out, and now it is out, so we can talk about that and celebrate that. But we've only got a limited amount of time. I think I got you on your bowling night, so we are going to cram everything in. The good thing, John, is you have done so many interviews leading up to this release and trying to get the word out, that I feel like all the clickbait questions have already been asked. So I don't have to waste so much of your time.
All good, buddy. It's some of the clickbaits I can do without, so just shoot away.
Well, yeah. Well, the one that everyone asked, and we don't even have to get into it, is, are you going to replace Vince Neil on the stadium tour? Are you going to rejoin Motley Crue? Which was all, as you've said, nonsense.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's. I don't know. I don't even know where it's coming from. Mm-hmm. It's just funny to me. Like, but the thing of it is, it's even funnier is if I say, you know what, I don't really want to talk about this and move on, then I'm an asshole for not talking about it. And
well, you're covering.
Ungrateful. And if I do talk about it, they just continue to take little snippets of the interview and sensationalize it and put it out there. So it's like I can't win either way, one way or another. It is what it is.
I suppose it's not no press is bad press, so to speak. So at least people are talking. At least they're spelling your name right. So we're going to get into the book, especially, but so we don't want to give away your entire life story right here. People have to read the book. But I do want to start. I got my own question, and I've been waiting a long time to ask this one. Who was a bigger pain in the ass to work with, Ratt or Motley Crue?
That's a really close. Honestly, it's not that. It's not. Pain in the ass is kind of a strong statement. Mm-hmm. It's difficult? Just difficult. Yeah, it's just people are set in their ways. Look, both bands had a massive amount of success at a young age, and I just don't think that they're used to hearing the word no that often. Let's just put it that way. They don't understand the concept of the word no, or whatever. So it is what it is. They were both great joys to work with, but at times just a nightmare. Do you know what I mean? So
I can imagine. Again,
you're going to find out throughout this interview that it is what it is a very favorite. It's a favorite statement of mine, but it's unfortunately true. It is what it is.
So do you think you can't pick between the two?
Honestly, I think Motley Crue has figured out how to be dysfunctional and still move forward. So I would have to say, as a fan, I'm a little disappointed more in Ratt that they can't figure that part out. Because look, at the end of the day, I mean, they've sold millions of records, and they can't get out of their own way. So I have to give Ratt the nod as far as being a little more dysfunctional or difficult.
Yeah, I had a feeling you would say that, and you make a good point. Motley Crue has figured out how to coexist. Maybe there's a lot more money involved and things like that. But those personalities in Ratt, and I do work with or have worked with some of them as well, and currently tour manage Stephen Pearcy. So I hear the stories from all different angles, and I don't see um, three members of that band who can get along at the same time, no matter what. I can find
And
some twos, but no threes.
and that was the thing, like, I was just talking to Blotzer, a couple months ago, and he's taken offense to me saying that they were dysfunctional. But I'm like, dude, in all honesty, like me, Robbie Crane, and Jizzy at the time, we would go to rehearsal, and him and Warren would just sit there and argue for hours
Hmm.
over the tempo of the first song.
Hmm.
And it was like, God. And then, and I mean this in no disrespect to Steven, because I love Steven. Steven's as rock and roll as they come. But once you put him into the mix, it was like this just three-headed monster vying for power. You know what I mean? And it's just like, guys, seriously, just, Bobby would get upset with Steven, and Steven would get upset with Bobby, and they would both get upset with Warren. And I'm like, haven't you guys figured out that you are who you are? You're not going to change at this point. We're all 60 plus years old. Just figure out how to make it work and go do the shows. All you have to do is stand on stage with each other for an hour and a half and then go your separate ways. Done. Poison's figured it out. Motley's figured it out. There's a million bands out there that have figured out how to work. And trust me, I mean, the Motley guys do not hang out with each other when they're off, at all. So they've kind of figured out how to do it. Figure it out, just whatever. And they just can't. They can't get out of their own way. And it's sad for the fans.
For sure. I often tell Steven, he tells me that they are not the most dysfunctional band. I beg to differ. They're pretty dysfunctional.
Yeah, and again, like, everybody used to tell me nightmares about Steven. I had nothing but a great time with Steven. And still to this day, every Christmas, every birthday, every Father's Day, I get a text from Steven. Hey, dude, hope you're well. Happy Father's Day or happy birthday or whatever. SJP. And, I love Steven, but they definitely cannot get out of their own way. Sorry. I'm going to disagree, like you, with Steven on that one.
Yeah, I don't see this reunion ever happening. They've had the offers and they've turned them down, obviously. We're looking at a picture of you with Ratt. Now, as you said, you were in the two different lineups. Originally, with Jizzy Pearl singing around 2001. Was there ever talk of you singing for Ratt?
Prior to me joining as a guitar player, Blotzer, I ran into Bobby at, God, I believe it was the old Billboard Live or Gazzari's, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. And he talked with me about it. But at that point, I was like, nah, dude, I bought that shirt with Motley Crue. I'm not interested. But then I was talking to Robbie Crane later, and Robbie's like, yeah, we're looking for a singer and a guitar player. And I said, well, I can do that. I'll do that, because then I'm just kind of in the background. I'm not really, taking over for anybody. Everybody knew that, the guy that I was kind of taken over for, Robin, had passed away or was close to it. So I was cool with doing that. I did not want to sing. And then, obviously they had Jizzy for a few years, and it was a great band. We had a lot of fun. Then Steven came back, and still, it was a great band. We had a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. But it was weird. We got offered a record deal. Actually, it was at our show at the House of Blues in LA. We did this kick-ass show, and the record label came in. They said, oh my God, that was great. I want to sign the band to a record deal. And I went home and I thought about it, and I was like, Man, I am not going to sit in a recording studio on the East Coast in North Carolina for 6 months trying to write and record an album. These motherfuckers can't even get through a rehearsal. That just sounds like a nightmare to me. So I quit. Enter Carlos Cavazo.
Yeah, and we're jumping around. Obviously, people want to go through everything. They go to the book, but when you obviously Motley Crue, you replaced Vince Neil for those years. It's got to be strange for you to be in Ratt and watching and knowing that this probably is going to happen. That somewhere Stephen Pearcy is in the background going to come back.
Yes and no, because again, like even when I was in Motley, if you were in the room prior to Vince coming back and talked to Tommy, Nicky, or Mick, there wasn't a lot of good positive feedback about Vince.
Mm-hmm.
So you tend to sit there and go, is it going to happen? I don't think so. Not the way they're talking. And it was kind of the same with Steven. I don't remember a lot of positive things being said, especially from Blotzer about Steven. So it kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't know about it. Like I had actually went back to Nashville. I was living in my house in Nashville, and they just called and said, "Hey, we're getting back together again. We're going out with Poison, and Steven's back." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Went to rehearsal, and like I said, I got along with Steven great. But I just wish they would fucking figure it out and figure out how to move forward and,
coexist.
Yeah, exactly. Coexist.
Yeah. It's pretty funny because it is what you say. When you're in the room with these guys and they're mad at somebody, you're going to believe that, oh, there's no way they'll ever get back together. When you hear the guys in Motley Crue talking about how bad the situation was, you must think, well, I guess I'm going to be around a while. I want to say that obviously people can get the book, Horseshoes and Hand Grenades. We have links in the description, so you can get it from Rare Bird, and you can also get it on Amazon. So we have those, and there is a vinyl that comes with it. I'll talk about all those things in a little bit. We'll give that a better plug. But I want to say that I wanted you to tell the story about, you tell it on stage in your show, and it's great, but I wanted you to tell the story. You were in the band The Scream with some of the guys from Racer X, obviously, at one point, and great band, and probably were, one of those bands that was just on the cusp. But I want you to tell the story about how you find out about Motley Crue, because it's a great story about getting involved.
Well, we were actually, obviously, being on the road, you do legs of a tour. And we were actually on, it was January, I believe, of 1992. We were on a leg of our tour. And a fan came up and gave me this magazine. For the life of me, I can't remember. I thought it was Spin, but it's not, whatever. But they gave me a magazine. Nicky was on the cover. And the fan said, "Dude, he loves The Scream." And so the fan gave me the magazine. We did the show. We got back in the bus, and we were heading back to LA for a day off. And then we were going to finish that leg of the tour at a place called the Marquee Club in Orange County. So we read the story, and Nicky was just raving about The Scream. So got home, pretty much day off, slept the whole day. Got up the next day to go do my show, and I just on a whim, I said, "Oh, let me call, Motley's management and just leave a message for Nicky and just say thank you for the plug." And so I did. I called the management, left a message, and at which point I was getting ready to walk out my door to go to my gig. In Soundcheck, we were going to do a thing at KNAC, the whole bit. As I'm walking out the door, the phone rings, and they immediately called me back. And, the rest is history. Like, we chit-chatted for a minute, and then they just said, "Hey, dude, Vince is out. He's gone. We need a singer, and we'd love for you to come down. and jam with us. And I was just dumbfounded. Like, what, what? Like, and just, obviously one thing led to another. I went down, I auditioned, and I wound up getting a gig, like literally like 4 or 5 days later. It was crazy.
Amazing. As you talk about that experience, you go in and you play a lot of the Motley classic songs, and maybe some of those weren't necessarily in a range that you sang. I'm sure singing stuff like Livewire didn't sound like stuff that was on Scream, right?
No, obviously, look, Motley was always a heavier band. I think the Scream was just more of a blues based. Our thing was, we were into shit like Humble Pie, Aerosmith. So it was a little more blues based. But, when Motley calls, you pick the phone up. You know what I mean? And I just picked it up, and they offered me the gig. And here I am 30 years later, talking about the records that I did with them. So,
which is a gift.
Again, it was.
Yeah, but you talk about, you sang those songs. They asked you to come back, and you talk about meeting all these managers and executives and lots of lawyers. I guess that band has a lot of lawyers.
Yes, they do. I remember. They were all there, and they all gave me the rundown due to the contracts and shit that was involved. I just remember the one lawyer coming up to me at the end of the day, and in code, he kind of said, "Mr. Corabi, thank you for coming down. It was great meeting you, but you were never here." And it was like he was being very polite and telling me to keep my fucking mouth shut. Don't tell anybody I was there, because, technically I was signed to another band, to another label, and it was a huge breach of contract, and they could have gotten in trouble for, I forget what the legal term is, but pandering somebody from another signed, whatever. So I was never.
Did they have to buy you out of that contract?
Yes, sir.
So obviously there was a lot of other legal wheels spinning at the time.
Yeah, it was weird. We had to negotiate with. It took 8 months. So it was Motley Crue and their record label, Elektra, was negotiating with Hollywood Records for me to leave, but they were also on the side negotiating with the guys in the Scream for me to leave. Mm-hmm. So it was like a triple-headed monster for 8 months.
You've got to feel like the belle at the ball, so to speak, though. People fighting over Motley Crue wants you bad. That's not a bad feeling, right?
Well, it wasn't bad until I got the legal bill for $83,000, and then I thought I was the belle of the ball that got date raped and didn't know it.
When did you receive that bill?
It was about 8 months later, and it was like, dude. I mean, I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment with 2 kids, 2 dogs, a wife, and I get a bill in the mail for $83,000. I was like, I had, at that point, I had never even touched $83,000. And I was, like, what? So that was even a little bit of negotiating with the lawyer to get him to whittle down some extra charges off the thing. But, I mean, entertainment lawyers charge, the minute you call them for anything, they hit the button, they start timing it, they round it up to the next 15 minutes, and they charge you hourly, and it could be $450, $500, $600 an hour. And it was 8 months of negotiating. So it was an $83,000 bill.
You would think Motley Crue would want to help you with this. I hear these stories constantly, John. I used to manage Jimmy Crespo, who was in Aerosmith. Aerosmith told him, "We're going to make you a full member of the band." He thought, what a great opportunity. And as soon as he joined, they told him, "We're in debt. So we're going to, your cut, it comes out. Every time you get a check, well, you want to be in the band? Well, here's the debt. We're taking money out." So you think, what an opportunity. In your case, what an opportunity. And I got an $80,000 legal bill.
Yeah, well, again, I got bonuses from my publishing company. I got bonuses from Motley when I joined. You know, so them sitting there going, "Oh yeah, let's give you another 83,000 for your legal bills." That wasn't going to happen. So it was just literally a year overall of negotiating, and but it worked out. You know what? Everything worked out. I wound up doing, basically 3 records with the guys, and we did the tour, and and then Vince came back, and I moved on. It whatever.
John, was the decision for you to play guitar from day one?
I think they were just because the second day I went to rehearsal, we were kind of just jamming, and I was making a fuss over this Les Paul that Mick was using, and he took it off, and I said, "Oh, can I check out your guitar?" And he ran it through his rig, and I started playing, and they were like freaking out that I could play. So I think initially it was just a deal where we'll have him play on the songs that we want him to play on, but it was like the more I was playing, the thicker the sound got. So I just wound up playing on everything. I think the only song that I didn't play on was Poison Apples. Bob Rock played guitar on that one.
Oh, yeah. That's I think it obviously that second guitar helps. Some people might say there's a second guitar on stage now with that band, but we'll leave that to other people's ears. And I think maybe they wanted to break the typical stereotypical frontman just singing and having you playing guitar, and change a little bit of the image of that band.
Well, and I think they liked, first of all, they liked the sound. It was thicker, but I think it actually, I think in some way it defined me being completely different than Vince. It took me even farther away from where they had been before. And at the time, I think they liked it. It wasn't until, wasn't until they started seeing that the record and the tour wasn't doing well that they started kind of wishing they had, the blonde guy back.
Obviously, that record is so people are passionate about it. People really love that record, and I've heard you say that if it wasn't called Motley Crue, it probably would have been received much better. And I think a lot of people feel that way because it sort of got lost in the shuffle as the lost Motley Crue record. But to people, those songs are so great, and you play them live. You've played the entire album, and I think people are really grateful to have that opportunity to see it.
Yeah, and again, it's all in the book, but we didn't want to call it Motley, but it was everybody else, as you know, that has their hand out: the lawyers, the managers, the accountants, the booking agents. Everybody gets a piece of that pie, and they were looking at their income shrinking, substantially. So they're like, "No, you got to call it Motley." And even the record label was like, "We just paid $40 million for Motley Crue with this singer. Now you're replacing this singer. Okay, we can handle that. But now you want to change the name of the band as well?" No. And so we kind of caved, but in the grand scheme of things, we knew we should have changed the name. You know what I mean? So it again, I can't say it enough. It is what it is. You figure it out as you go. But
John, some of the representations of you, Motley Crue is in movies and TV shows and books. I think the legend is sometimes crazier than the truth.
That's where the name, not to circle back, but that's where the name Horseshoes and Hand Grenades comes from. It's just, I realized when I was writing the book and then rereading it and editing that I'm truly the king of being at the right place, but always at the wrong time. And I joined one of the biggest bands in the world, but just at the wrong time. Nirvana's Nevermind came out right before I had just been in England with the Scream. And we all went to a show, and we saw them at this little club, and the English were eating them up. And we just kind of sat there going, this is gonna fuck some shit up. This band, and they did, you know. And I don't have I love Nirvana. You know what I mean? I thought what they were doing was brilliant, but it you know, I get this phone call, you know, to join Motley, and it was just a weird time. It was the perfect storm of everything you could do wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So how do you feel about you be representing In the Dirt and the TV show, which was very brief?
Didn't like it. I wish they would have just left me out of it altogether. Like, and you know, like they're doing reissues now, the vinyl, all the different vinyls, and they're excluding the record that I did. So why would you put me in the movie? You're literally they've probably spent the last 10 or 15 years of their lives sweeping my era and even Randy Castillo's era under a rug. Why would you put me in the movie? And my biggest beef is, if you did put me in the movie, why couldn't you get Morgan Freeman to play me? So go fuck
Yes,
yourself.
yes, that would be a more accurate representation for sure. Yeah, it's and believe me, you're not going to find Samantha Maloney in any movies. But
Yeah, it's, you know, so they're very, very focused on the records that those four guys did. Great, as you should be. That was a successful Motley Crue. Um, so you know what? It would have been no big deal to show the band split up, and then go through their personal lives for a minute, and then show the band getting back together again. They didn't have to mention me. They didn't have to slag anything in the movie. They could have just skipped over that whole thing and not mentioned me at all, and I would have been happier than a pig in shit. But I think to a degree they kind of went out of their way. Somebody did, to make that time look shitty. You know, I mean, remember the movie? It looks like they're walking into a high school gymnasium to like 8 people, and I just thought that was unnecessary.
mm-hmm. Yeah, you definitely become mixed up in their way of playing things. So I can understand how you feel. So I got to ask about Motley, and then we're going to talk about this book, and we'll let you get out of here. But after Motley ends, you would think that maybe that was the end of the relationship with these guys, but it's not. And Brides of Destruction is the one that the oddest of them all, because Nikki Sixx has this band, Brides of Destruction. How do you get involved with that?
Through Tracy Guns. Tracy and I were on tour together when he was with LA Guns, I was with Ratt. And he used to just stand on my side of the stage, and I always had a cooler with, like, you know, whiskey or Guinness or my cigarettes and ashtray. And Tracy would sit on my side of the stage, and we would just talk. And so he was telling me about this new band, and he was just like, dude, I love the way you play guitar. I think you'd be perfect for it. I'm going to talk to Nikki. And then I got a phone call from Nikki, like, hey, dude, you know, I guess we're going to work together again. Do you want to do this band? And I'm like, yeah, okay. And I went and saw, and it was, you know, at the time they only had maybe 2 or 3 songs, whatever. And then we just sat for a year and wrote. Unfortunately, I didn't really kind of grasp the direction the band was going in. You know, but it was fun. It was cool. I love Tracy Guns. I think he's an amazing guitar player. I had a great time with Nikki, London, Scotty. You know, Scotty was playing drums for us. You know, so I had a good time. It was, again, another thing, another notch in the belt, something cool to do.
Now, if you dive deeper into it, it seems like at the time, though, you might not have been getting along with Tracy as well. It seems like.
No, it wasn't really anything. It was just I was basically, look, I was going through a lot of stuff too. I was getting a divorce, my second divorce. I didn't really understand the direction the band was taking, so I was kind of pushing back a little bit. You know what I mean? And Tracy was, he was standing firm in his beliefs, which is fine. It's great. I respect the guy. So I just said, you know what, this isn't going to work. I'm going to leave. And I left the band. They didn't fire me. It wasn't over a fist fight or an argument. I just said, I don't want to do this anymore. So I left.
Have you ever considered playing a show in a bathroom?
In a bathroom?
Are you not up on Tracy Gunn's playing his show in the bathroom?
Oh, yes. Yeah. You know what? Honestly, I don't know what happened there. I don't know why he did it, but he did it. And I thought it was great. I'm like, well, you're having an issue right now with the heat. Killer, dude. And I just said, Mr. Guns, well done.
I found it to be quite entertaining. And I'm not going to lie, I was on the road. And here we are at dinner, and we're all watching Tracy Guns play guitar in a bathroom. I think the promoters may not be so happy when you pay a guy to be on stage and he's in a bathroom. But it was an interesting move nonetheless. So you leave that band, and listen, you probably left in time because they had other internal problems, and it fell apart and it started up again, but it never was probably what they were hoping for. So you probably got off that sinking ship in time, so to speak.
When I actually do make a decision, it usually turns out to be the right one. So it's just getting me to that point.
Okay, so anyway, so that's the Enterprise Distraction. I know that you reached out to Tommy about playing some songs with you solo. He wasn't really into playing right at that point. You did play some songs with Mick Mars for his solo record, and hopefully someday those songs will see the light of day. When is the last time you spoke to Nicky?
Rides of Destruction? No, I'm lying. We didn't speak. We had an email exchange in regards to his book, The Heroin Diaries. And he took offense to something that I said, wasn't happy with me. And I'm like, dude, did you read the whole interview? Because I actually gave your book a thumbs up. I said it was a great read. My thing was, somebody asked me if I believed it, if it was colored. And I said, yes, probably. I just said probably. And I said, now I've dealt with heroin addicts, my son included. And I'm like, I don't know any heroin addict that remembered what they did the night before or could take notes as it was happening. Maybe there's the rare few. Maybe Nikki Sixx is one of those. Keith Richards, whatever. But I made a comment. Nikki reached out. Happy. And I said, dude, I gave it a thumbs up. If you read the whole interview, and I sent him the link, and then I just said, why do you even give a fuck about anything I have to say? Somebody asked me a question and I answered it, and I just sent it to him. And then he was fine. But then it just seems like the last few years he's gone on a little bit of a rant or whatever about working with me and my level of talent or my contributions. And so I'm just like, I just whatever, dude, just, I'm never going to change his mind. I don't know why he thinks the way he thinks, but it is what it is.
That's definitely what it is. I know you're on a tight schedule. You got to promote this book. We got to make sure we get the word out. The link is in the description. Horseshoes and Hand Grenades. Also, I want to make sure people check out the brand new single.
There's one called Casi Bella, which means so beautiful in Italian. But the song is called Casi Bella. And the other one's called Your Own Worst Enemy. They're both on Spotify, all those sites, whatever, download, streaming, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and on your official YouTube, you can see the video for Casi Bella, a real fun video and great song. So I want to make sure people check those two things out and pick up this record. We just scratched the surface. There's tons of things to read. There's much crazier things than music. Your life is not just music. There's stories in this book that, as you said, in the right place at the wrong time. There's plenty of those things. John, I thank you so much for joining us. I hope you'll come back. I look forward to seeing you out on the road too.
Thank you, brother. And please give my best to Stephen when you talk to him.
Absolutely. Okay, John. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy.